Good morning, business builders, and welcome to Business for Breakfast, where business is the most important meal of the day. I'm your host, Aaron Novinger. Our goal on this channel, we're going to unpack business news over the last 24 hours, sprinkle with tips and tricks to help you mind your own business on the way to work this morning. All right. The first thing that we do, which to be honest with you, sets my day, and you guys will see, I honestly wouldn't care if there's nobody on this show because in the end, I try to do stuff for me. And I find that me being a mom and pop business owner, that a lot of things that I need, you all need. So, you know what? The first thing that I need every single day when I start is the morning mark. Shall we? Okay, we shall. I know why you're here. It is for the morning mark. I know it is. No props required, no drinks, no gear. Just you and a functioning brain will work with what we've got. Wherever you are, desk, truck, kitchen, job site, standing or sitting, it does not matter. You pick one thing you will finish today, not 10, not a list, one. Now mark it mentally. That's the line in the sand. That's the thing the day doesn't get erased. This is the pause that sharpens the edge, the moment that turns noise into signal, the tiny act that makes business owners dangerous in a good way. That, my friends, is your morning mark. Your day has officially started. Let's dive in, shall we? Okay. Now, there tends to be a lot of news that is happening today. And if I think I've got somebody in, is it Justin? Give me a good yes. Oh, hell, Justin. I probably should grab my mic, don't you guys think? I don't know. I'm just hypothetically throwing that out there. Maybe. I don't know. Like, why is it that something feels weird? I do not know. Okay, Justin, how is my sound? How's the sound, my bro? Mm. Yes. Thank you, sir. Mucho appreciation. And that is your Spanish lesson for the day. All right, all right, all right. Now, a lot of the news the last 48 hours, I believe you all know, has been about the certain capture of a certain individual from Venezuela, right? Okay, good. Now I think we have a good understanding that that all went down, and it wasn't because of fentanyl boats, right? But here's the deal: we only know 1% of the information. Government has 100%, or as close to as you can get. So we trust that. But in honor of Venezuela being in the news, I thought today being Friday, February, no, am I a month ahead? What is wrong with me? January 9th, on this day, I thought I would share with you one of my favorite shows that I'm binging right now. And I don't know if you got, I believe it is on Amazon Prime Plus, probably. Landman. Billy Bob Thornton, Demi Moore. Oh my gosh. Sam, what's Sam's last name? Cher and Sam. I don't know. You guys will tell me what it is. Anyway, the cast is ridiculous. Andy Garcia, and you get some of you guys. If you guys are Gen X or older, you guys will remember a certain show that we all watched growing up in the '80s, and we all were forced to watch this show with our parents on Friday nights, and it was called Dallas. Yes, J.R. Ewing. He was the villain in the show, but we all loved that guy. When Larry Hagman passed, the entire world mourned. Okay, well, Landman is today's Dallas, right? If you guys remember when we were growing up, after Dallas, then what did you have? We all had to go to bed, and our parents would watch Knots Landing. Remember that? Oh my gosh. Am I taking you guys way back? Yes, I'm taking you way back. So, but if you guys, little recommendation for a show, Landman, it's bingeable and watchable. And speaking of bingeable, that just sounded like something that Mr. Beast would put out, which means my second show recommendation for the week. And maybe that's what we do is Friday recommendations. Freaky Fridays, maybe like the kookiest, freakiest things. I don't know. Who knows? I'm just throwing things out there. You guys will realize that my brain doesn't stop. So, but the other phenomenal show that you will binge is Beast Games. Quite honestly, the greatest game show that you've ever seen in history. And actually, I believe Beast Games' first season set, I don't know, like a dozen world records in that one show. So now thinking about like, and then Jimmy, that dude's he's gotta up everything he does. Everything. So if you thought Beast Games 1, and by the way, do yourself a favor and watch Beast Games Series 1 if you haven't already. It's there are episodes that you can't stop but binging to the next episode. Beast Games, mind bender. And this season, we've watched, I think, episode 1. Oh my gosh. I don't know. Jimmy has a gift. Mr. Beast has a gift. You guys know I'm drinking my Tulsi tea, so be cool. Stay in school. Now, shall we jump into some business news for the last 24 hours? Yes, we shall, because there is some juicy news. We're going to call this the Juicy News segment. All right. Juicy News. I'm writing that down. Juicy News. Oh, Juicy News. When it pops, it pops. You know what I'm saying? Okay, juicy news. Oh, there's some good stuff in the news. So, all right. Bloomberg in the news. Bloomberg researchers question whether the stressful world humanity has created, what is that? World humanity has created is fit for humans. Researchers question whether the stressful world humanity has created is fit for humans. I would agree with that. I think that if you kind of see what's going on in the world today, I know it's kind of crazy, but let's be honest. I mean, if you go back and just look at, okay, if you can go back, and you guys know I'm obsessed with like old checkbooks and like business ledgers. So, and by the way, if you ever have some, do not ever throw those away. Just bleep out whatever you want, but you can always, this guy is always taking those donations. Okay. Because I love looking at checkbooks and stuff from the 1980s, because go look at what your parents bought. Okay. Go look at their checkbooks. You're not going to see 5 TV subscriptions. Nope, you won't see it. You won't see $100 a month on coffee. Nope, you won't see that. You're not going to see all the subscriptions. You won't see that. You're not going to see lease payments for vehicles. You won't see that. You won't see that. No. You will see the most beautiful checkbook in history. Like back in the day, a dozen things. And here's what I'm saying. Choices causes anxiety. That's it, man. Choices cause anxiety. Okay. And that's why, quite honestly, if you guys know me, every week I wear, now on this show, it's been different, but if you see me during the week at work, whatever, I wear the same shirt Monday through Friday. Why? Decision fatigue. It is a real thing, bro. Decision fatigue is a real thing. And you, as a business owner, when you're the amount of decisions that we have to make on a daily basis, I always envisioned that basically, you've got like, here's your capacity cut for decisions, right? It's 100% full. Okay. Well, do you realize that, no exaggeration, this is not exaggerating. Okay. So when you get home in the evening, okay, you ready? This much of your daily decisions right here is on flipping through what to pick for TV. I know you think I'm joking, but you know I ain't. You know I ain't. Okay. So if you want to have less stress, less anxiety, one of the best ways to do that is minimize your inputs, right? The amount of stressors that have access to you with boundaries, and honestly, try to start limiting the amount of decisions that you make, because you will notice at the end of the day, the goal most of the time before you even get home, this bad boy is empty by 2 o'clock, right? And so by the time you get done, you have nothing left in the tank. The goal is that you've minimized your choices so many times that you come home and your bottle still has, choices in there. You get what I'm saying, right? So it doesn't surprise me at all. And what is it that Scott, and I'm going to be bringing a lot of his segments in because he is just the greatest. I call him the modern day Oracle, and Scott Adams is the modern day Oracle. He is absolutely brilliant. So I will bring a lot of his segments in, and that is one of those. Just ask Scott. That's the just ask Scott question right there. Let's see. Does more stress affect humanity? Yes, it does. Okay. All right. Also in news today, Bloomberg is reporting Meta signs a series of electricity deals for its data centers, making it the biggest buyer of nuclear power among its peers. OMG. Now, here's the great thing about all this stuff. When you first hear this, you're like, okay, that kind of scares me. And I hear you. But you also have to understand that these companies are publicly traded, which means their number one responsibility is to shareholders, which means profit. Okay. Which means they tend to not make dumb decisions, usually. Okay. Now, when I say dumb, what I'm not saying is making decisions for money. Those are two different things. Okay. Because there's a lot of times we make decisions because we think this is going to increase our revenue and it might be a dumb decision. That's called an experiment. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about that these companies, you have to understand, they are under such scrutiny because they are so huge that any one of these companies that has a T in front of its valuation um, shouldn't be the size as they are. This is what Peter Thiel calls Monopoly 2.0. Okay. So you deal with companies that are enormous. But here is some of the good things about a few companies that control industries is that they're on everybody's radar, which means that if a consumer or a group of consumers get screwed over, first thing they do is they go to their local politician, who then moves it up the chain, and before you know it, there's pressure on these companies, and they hate this pressure from big government. They hate it. They hate it. Okay, so they avoid it at all costs. And they also understand that they usually provide a product to the masses, the working class. And Uncle Sam guards the working class pretty seriously. But every once in a while, these companies will come on the scene and actually start doing some really cool things. Okay. And what you've seen, like Amazon and companies like this over the years, when they need something for themselves, they tend to 5 to 10 exit when they build it out, not just for them and their next 5-10 year growth plans, but also they will expand it enough to add other customers on the platform to get those customers to pay their cost, and then make that a profit center. So it's not just pay the cost; it's make it a profit center. So that's what you're seeing here is that all these tech companies. So the what I think is coming, and actually, I was not the first one that said this. It was actually about a week ago on one of the Scott Adams podcasts. This came up. He brought it up, and he was the first one to make that prediction that how cool would it be if these big tech companies, because they have to build their own power plants, basically mini power plants, and usually these big techs, when they go in and do their data centers, they usually go into like small rural towns where they can add a lot of impact into that local community. And they do a really good job of beefing up the local community the same way when a university opens up in a small rural town. But the day that those big tech companies start reselling their excess power to the local community is the day that you guys are going to start seeing sustainable living. That is the day that what everybody's pushing today, affordability, that's that day. That's that day. Okay. And we are so close, so close. I think it's Rolls-Royce is now making Gen 4 nuclear reactors on assembly lines. They're basically going back of trailers that can power communities. I mean, this is already here. This is already here. And Gen 4 reactors, there's never been a Gen 3 reactor that's melted down, and Gen 4 reactors can't melt down, right? So nuclear power is so insanely safe right now that it is, I don't know if there's anything that can come close to generating the most output for the least amount of input. And because of that, because laws of supply and demand, we have more supply for energy in a local community. Guess what? Gets to drop it. It's going to be amazing, man. I can't wait to see how these companies compete for this. It's going to be really cool. All right. What is, In Forbes News today, Google warns users, if you get this email, you're being hacked. Here's what it says. We have blocked several phishing campaigns involving the misuse of an email notification feature. Google warns users the email comes from a real Google address by abusing a workflow automation tool. Okay, so be leery of getting those email phishing scams. And Google says it's going to come in the form and cloak itself as a Gmail address. Okay. All right. What's entrepreneurs saying today in the news from the vault? Most Americans plan to work part-time in retirement, and the opportunities are endless. Okay. This is something I know a little bit about. You guys know that I've done retirement planning for 20 years-ish. Here's the kicker. You have no concept and no idea about what happens to the human body when you leave your career. This is a big point here because there's something that you guys need to kind of know and hear about, and it's not difficult, right? And you guys know this. Fundamentally, you know this, okay? If you don't use it, you lose it, right? If you don't use it, you lose it. Okay, so if that is the case, if we don't use it, we lose it, then what does that mean for us? You stop moving, you start losing the body. You stop using the brain, you start losing the brain. Okay, so, for retirement planning for 20 years, this has always been our rule. Okay, you pick a day on the calendar. Okay, so from this day forward, you work because you want to, not because you have to, but you cannot stop working. You cannot stop working. Okay, find me anywhere in history, in any of the old religious books, in any religion, anywhere that basically says that somewhere in your 60s, you literally stop moving. It doesn't happen. Like, I'll be honest with you. The first time I was I saw this in real life was in 2005. My wife and I went to Paris. I surprised her in '05 for her birthday, okay? And we get out there, and one of the I saw 2 or 3 things that blew my face right off my body. Okay, number 1, everybody over there was smoking like a chimney. It was like, "Poof, poof, 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 poof." Okay, like everywhere all the time. Poof, 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 poof. Okay. Now, that's not a big deal. Okay. What is a big deal was that no, everybody was like old, like 80. I mean, what I'm saying is lots of young, but old people were everywhere. But I also saw everybody walks everywhere. Oh, and the other thing that I saw out there, everybody, they eat like a loaf of bread on the daily. Okay. So it's like snap it, eat a loaf of bread, right? So crazy. And here's the thing. You guys have to understand, you guys have to use your body and you can't stop using your body. So make sure in retirement, do things you love doing. Okay. You got to trick the body, man. You got to trick that body. Okay. All right. Wall Street Journal in the news today. Walmart launches digital healthcare platform to cut prices on some health items. You guys knew this was coming, right? I mean, come on. I mean, utilizing AI into health, that had to be the first industry that got this. You know what I'm saying? In the news today, Secretary of State Marco Rubio said he will meet with Denmark's leaders next week as the Trump administration continues pressing its case to acquire Greenland. OMG. Well, the thing that I think you have a pretty good idea that this president tends to get what he wants, right? And luckily for us, and there might be a lot of stuff that you agree with or don't agree with, and that's okay. But I have a hard time believing that if you removed colors and sides and we just analyzed what each individual was doing, and then let's say we just put it through like an AI summarizer and said, hey, let's analyze every single thing that happened and remove political sides. I just have this hard time believing that if you get to that place in office, that the weight of responsibility is so overwhelming that, yeah, you might be selfish and yeah, you're going to be narcissistic for sure. But I don't know. I just have a feeling that, you know, if the country's having a bad day, you're having a bad day. You see what I'm saying? So I feel like regardless of party side, you know, um, they try to take care of the people. And I think we're seeing that even with, with this administration, and the thing is, a lot of these strategic plays are things that needed to happen, or things that benefit the U.S. and should happen for the U.S., right? Bloomberg in the news today, RFK Jr.'s new inverted food pyramid emphasizes eating red meats and dairy rather than more climate-friendly plant foods like beans to boost protein intake. Okay, now I need to, if you guys can, go and just Google it. First of all, you want to know why my generation doesn't trust Uncle Sam whatsoever. It started for us back in the 70s, okay? When we were born, okay, 60s and 70s when we were born. And then somewhere in the, I don't know, 70s and 80s, Uncle Sam decides to force feed us all in elementary school, basically from the time that we're like, A for apple. And then they start teaching this food pyramid. Basically, the entire food pyramid was like carbs, right? Then like dairy, it was like you now today you're like, okay, now how much did these industries pay? It was like a bidding war to be on this pyramid, you know? So when you look at it today, it's been reversed, which is great. Okay. Tons of normal natural meats and fruits and veggies. Oh, big shocker, and then how about a little bit of dairy and then like a little bit of like, carbs and stuff, like go look at it. It's completely reversed, which is amazing. Okay. I am so